I forgot who I was listening to recently. They were mentioning about that a lot of the times the so-called brutality against the transgender community, it actually has a lot to do with the fact that those straight males that they kind of suckered in into believing that they were women, and then they found out that they were men. Well, yeah, you're gonna have people who are gonna assault them. Like, dude, it's deceptive. You're practically stealing. You're pretending.
Yeah,
It's trickery. We get upset when somebody's playing with our money, our food, and our sexuality. Like, you
yeah,
can't just go ahead and do that. It's not cool. It's
no,
gonna get disgusting. However, there are a lot of transgenders that do recognize that.
yeah.
Again, black transgenders and gays, they started their own parade out in Atlanta. They started realizing like we need to stick together.
Mhm.
Fuck all the bullshit. And a lot of LGBTQ people have been going the opposite direction. For the past 4 or 5 years, they've lost about 40% of their funding because they started smelling bullshit as well. When gay people talking about like this shit ain't for us.
Yo, yo, yo. Did you hear about that thing where the LGBT is trying to get the P on there? The pedophiles?
Yeah,
Did you hear that bullshit? I was like, yo, now y'all in outer space. Y'all in Jupiter right now with that bullshit. I'm like, y'all crazy. Because if that shit happens, come on now.
it was only a matter of time. It's bad enough they already have ex pedophiles reading books to children in their
Oh my
transgender
God.
outfits.
Yo, I saw that. What the hell? Bro, I would, and you know what type of parents were in that room. Come on now.
Hmm.
'Cause we would have had that bullshit going on. I'm telling you facts. I don't care how open minded we are. Nah. Mm-mm. I'm not putting my baby with a tiger shark in the tank so you swim around. You stupid. Hell no.
Now that you said open-minded, back when we were in high school, did you ever hear anybody argue about, oh, you need to be more open-minded?
No.
Open-minded was more like, oh, just actually hear out someone, hear where they're coming from, see where they're coming from. If you can't see where they're coming from, it's possible that it's bullshit, whatever they're presented. But
Yeah.
open-mindedness is it's a phrase that was coined by hippies back in the day, that they thought that they had their shit together when they were all high as shit. I mean, not
Yeah.
everybody makes great decisions when they're high as shit. Sometimes I feel like if some of the rules that get put into play, like whether it's in a company or in government, it's a bunch of people that are in a room just high as fuck. They're like, you know what, we're gonna fuck with this community. This is gonna be what they're gonna have to do. It sounds right. Let's do it. And when you read
Yeah.
through it, you're like, are they smoking? It's possible they were.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Talking about smoking, what do you think about all these states legalizing marijuana?
I think it's great. I think it's great because you have less opportunities to falsely accuse someone of a crime that they didn't commit. You can't go ahead and say that, oh, they had weed and they had crack. They had weed and they had cocaine.
Hmm.
Oh, they had 20 ounces of weed when turns out they just had residue of weed in their pockets. Then they wound up doing 3 or 4 years for no reason. They can't incarcerate us. And I use that very openly. They can't incarcerate us because they don't do that to people that are out there doing the real trouble.
Yeah,
They usually do that to people who are minding their own business.
yeah, man. I tell you, because I was thinking the other day, I'm like looking at all these posters. I said, instead of laying out a case of bricks on the corner, put a case of weed in that corner and see how fast these motherfuckers stop protesting. Ain't nothing gonna want to protest. They're gonna be hot. High five. Be like, come over here, white cop. Let's smoke some bud. You know it. I'm just saying.
Oh man, dude, I've had so many situations that I've had to talk to cops, but I never really got that vibe that was. It was like I was being spoken to like I was dumb, because I never put out that vibe. No, I straight up just talked to them like another person. Like, dude, you could be my cousin, you could be my uncle, you could be my dad, or we're about the same age. Just like I don't look at you like you're less than or more than me. You know,
Yeah.
and a lot of times, well, I'll give you an example. I was 19, coming out of my mom's apartment, and in my book bag, I had a diatonic accordion, and the guy stops me. Ironically, it was a black cop, and he tells me, "Hey, what you got in the bag?" Like, I wasn't gonna start arguing with him. Like, dude, all I have is a freaking instrument. So I put it down to the ground, and he said, "Oh, you mind opening it up?" Because the first thing you do is you don't start opening up something unless they ask you.
Yeah.
You know, my dad always told me, you have rights up until you start showing them that you don't know your rights. So every single action will show them that you don't have rights. If you act exactly in accordance to that, they'll recognize when you don't. So when I put it down to the ground, he said, "Okay, you mind opening up what you have in there?" And I told him, "Oh, I have a diatonic accordion." So I started talking to him like, "Well, a diatonic accordion is an accordion that only plays within two keys, and the tonic of each key plays only in accordance of that chord. You can't go anything outside of that. It's not very melodic, but it can play in harmony within that key." And he was like, so he went from, "Oh, I need to check out what this dude is up to," versus that time, like, what does it look like? It's like, it's an accordion. Because the accordion, most people know, is a real big one, the big melodic one that is like a piano. So I take it out, and he's like, oh, I never even seen one of those before. So now he starts asking me questions way outside, like he wasn't even doing his job anymore. He was like, "Dude, that's freaking cool. Like I would have never expected." And I didn't take offense to that, because it's like, I'm not going to take it as, what's this black or Hispanic kid or brown kid doing with a book bag with a diatonic accordion? Like, what the hell? I took it more as, here's a 19-year-old feeling that is cool in this neighborhood to walk around with a diatonic accordion, and he knows what the fuck he's talking about. Yeah. So I shocked the living daylight to him. I'm like, cool. Yeah, we're not all that ignorant. Some of us actually are a bunch of fucking nerds that just live in the hood.
But see, I think with all these cop interactions, like, not for nothing, I've been stopped by the cops a lot of times, and every experience I've had with the cops, it never went sideways. And a couple of times I had weed on me, takes the weed, throws it out. I was doing some bullshit, spray paint, takes the paint, throw it out. And I never had a bad experience. Why? Because I always gave the respect that I wanted back. And I think that's a big problem with a lot of the people in our neighborhoods. Go to Bushwick, they're so aggressive against cops. I don't know why. Bro, you wasting your time. For what? For your pride? It's pride deal. That's the problem. Everybody going to protect pride for what? I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, those cops, they live in this area too. Like, they're not that far from where we live, because cops, they need to live near a certain distance from their precinct. Like, you want to argue with somebody from your community, like, you bugging. Why? He's just a regular human being.
Word.
And for me, if somebody looking thuggish, they might have a gun. So what? Stop them. I can see if you got saying, or you don't, go on your merry way. But if you do, guess what? They just took a gun off the street. One less person dies.
Word up. It is what it is. As long as people aren't getting killed nonsensically,
Yeah,
they did their job, and you can still go on about your day. Matter of fact, now that you're mentioning guns, there's only so much we can cover in such a short period of time. But that's the beauty of the podcast. Like, dude, we don't have no 5 minutes to cover everything. But
yeah,
back when I was, I'd say, like 6 or 7 years old, there were some people who had broken into the apartment with a handgun.
uh-huh.
And luckily, our neighbor had a shotgun. And he came out and he expressed his right to have a shotgun, which in New York at that time, you weren't allowed to have to open carry a gun, but you were allowed to have a shotgun in your household. Yeah. I think it was in 2012 when they made it even more difficult to have a shotgun in your household. It's crazy. You can't have a handgun, but you can have a shotgun.
Yeah.
But because of him expressing his right, I get to see my mom today.
Yeah.
You know, had we been listening to what these full of shit people, I call them all full of shit, whatever they want to call themselves, that whether it's far left or far right, yeah, we have a right to fucking express ourselves, and we have a right to defend ourselves. I'm not a victim. I wasn't raised to be a victim. Bushwick, dude, they would test you every day. You were being tested.
Yeah, but it wasn't about gun steal back in the day. It was about hands. No one put a gun to you. We throw in hands. We're gonna see if you about that life. It was never about guns.
Word.
I didn't get a gun put into my face until I was 21. But back in the day when we were in high school and all that stuff, never had to. Throw hands, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Word up. Throughout all that time, I didn't hear about anyone getting shot up in the school or trying to carry a gun into the school or even getting stabbed. But yeah, you're right. It was always like a fist fight. What's funny is that people always looked at black people, and I know you remember this. What was it they call them? Molletos, cocolos.
Bolos, yeah.
And it's like, not everyone is the same when it comes to being no good. No, it's not gonna just be like bad people are black and everyone else is not as bad. I used to hate that shit. I used to check my Puerto Rican friends and my Dominican friends for that same shit, because I used to hang out with black people. Because I was always a hip hop head and I love talking shit. And it's hard not to have both of those together, basically talking shit and hip hop music and playing basketball.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, someone's gonna catch feelings, and the person that catches feelings is usually the one that's the weakest in the crowd. Because we just trying to sharpen up our tool for we can be ready for to get through everyday struggles. The same black people who used to try to step to me, like they didn't like how I would approach them and were offended by some of the shit that I said, were the same people that down the line would be like, "Oh, I got your back," because you earn your respect. Yeah. Once you show that you're here for everyone, they recognize that. Real recognize real. I think that's a simpler way to put it. No matter how bad a person think that they are, or how scary some people might think they are, real recognize real. And even without saying anything, they got your back. They want to see you do good. I didn't realize how important it was for me to be so expressive as I was, and being out there as a musician. Usually musicians are always like really shy. I wasn't. Yo don't frego. Like I didn't care who the fuck it was. I'll take on my bass, I'll take on my piano, and I'll play merengue even if you don't like it.
Yeah.
When I first got to the school, Morenos weren't trying to hear anything about Spanish music. But after like the Spanish concerts that we would put together and the shows, a lot of black people were like, "Oh, this is cool." Now you see them up in the party, bagging Spanish girls and chilling with us. Bottom line is, we all come from the same fucking place.